Hello and welcome to the Daily Aus. I'm Billi.
And I'm Achol.
Earlier this month, thousands of people attended the two-day Yaus and Owls festival in Wollongong, New South Wales. The regional festival is of significant importance because it's the first to participate in the state's first ever pill testing trial. It's obviously not a new idea. Pill testing trials have become increasingly common across Australia in recent years, with governments allowing pop-up clinics at schoolies in Queensland and festivals in Victoria. But in New South Wales, it's an idea that has historically been shut down repeatedly. So in today's podcast, our very own Achol got an inside look at how the service was run. You actually went to the festival and looked at exactly what goes on in the pill testing trial. Before we get to what it was like in the trial, I want to understand how we got to this point because, like I said, in New South Wales, it has historically been shut down.
That's exactly right, Billi. I mean, drug safety at festivals is increasingly becoming a conversation that more people are eager to have. And there is a reason for that. I mean, between 2001 and 2019, 64 people died because of drug-related causes at Australian music festivals. So 6 of those occurred in New South Wales between December 2017 and January 2019. Now, more recently, 2 more people died in 2023, also at festivals in New South Wales. Now, the decision to greenlight the 12-month pill testing trial comes after a New South Wales drug summit held last year. Now, the summit, which was one of the New South Wales Labor government's election promise, aimed at addressing the issues faced by people impacted by drugs and alcohol. Now, the event brought together a bunch of people. This included experts, people with lived experiences, drug user organisations, and families. It is quite significant because the last time New South Wales held a drug summit was in 1999.
Wow, that is so long ago. And so my understanding of what this drug summit was to understand what is happening, certain trends in the drug space or in drug consumption in the state, and then to look at how the harm caused by drugs can be minimized.
Exactly.
And so what came out of this drug summit?
Yeah, so as mentioned, the drug summit that happened last year, we're still waiting for the final report, which is due to be handed down next year. But in the interim, a pill testing trial was recommended by the experts on the panel. And the New South Wales government actually agreed to take in on this initiative.
Okay, so this New South Wales Drug Summit recommended that there be pill testing. The New South Wales government agreed to it, and that is what happened 2 weekends ago now at the Yaus and Owls festival, where they had the first ever pill testing trial. Achol, you went to it.
I did.
You went to it on a Sunday.
Yep.
What did it involve?
So the pill testing trial followed very similar guidelines to how other states have run theirs in previous years. So meaning at music festivals or at one-off events where there are likely to be people who are planning to use illicit drugs. Under the trial, tents at festivals are set up for attendees to have their drugs chemically analysed. And the purpose of this is to identify potentially harmful or unexpected ingredients.
So the idea that when you are taking something that is illegal, you don't necessarily know what is inside it, and it could be different to what you thought it was. And these trials are aimed at detecting exactly that.
Exactly. So they're being used as a harm minimisation service, essentially. Now, the process is confidential, anonymous, and honestly takes about 15 minutes. So once the drugs are tested, health professionals review the results and provide professional advice to people who brought the drugs in.
About what is in their drug.
Exactly.
Okay, and again, you were there. Do you want to tell us about what your experience at the festival was like? Specifically in terms of the pill testing, not about... I'm sure the music was great.
I had a great time. The Veronicas were there.
Were they?
Yeah, they actually were.
Wow. Did you get to hear them or was it strictly professional?
Strictly business. So, yeah, I went to the festival on the second day. It was a 2-day event. Upon arrival, the pill testing tent was one of the first ones you saw by the entrance. New South Wales health workers made their presence really known to attendees. They were there were signs, there were posters along the strip, letting people know basically that the service was available. Now, I spent time chatting to some of these attendees, and the general attitude about the tents was pretty positive. So here are some examples of what people had to say about it.
There's too many people who have had bad drugs just trying to have a good time.
You hear it all the time.
I thought that it was everywhere. I didn't know it was the first one in New South Wales. That's crazy.
It should just be everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a smarter and safer way to do it.
Unreal.
I think, harm minimisation is pretty forward-thinking and healthy.
Okay, so it sounds like the crowds were pretty receptive to it. Do we know how many people actually used the service?
Yeah, over the 2-day festival, more than 100 people visited the tent. Now, out of those 100, 80 drug samples were tested, with MDMA, ketamine, and cocaine being the 3 most common substances brought in. Health experts said that 11% of those samples were not what people actually thought they had with them.
Interesting.
I know, and they said in several cases, people actually threw away the drugs they brought in after having conversations with those professionals. Now, for context, these tents also had amnesty boxes where you could safely discard your drugs. So they weren't just thrown on the side of the street for the next guy to pick up and have fun.
That would be pretty wild.
That would be. And occasionally at these festivals where pill testing trials are being run, drug warnings can be issued if experts pick up on substances that are deemed dangerous. But at this festival, New South Wales Health said they did not have to issue any of those warnings, nor were there any critical drug-related harm events reported.
So that's probably considered a success, I would presume, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much the ideal outcome for these services.
And so pill testing trials, like we've said, it is an initiative that a lot of young people are in support of, just like the people that you spoke to at the festival, Achol. But I know, as we mentioned at the top of the podcast, that the New South Wales government in particular has historically been against this. Do you want to kind of take us through that history there?
Hi, I'm Zara. I'm the co-founder of the Daily Aus, and we started this company because we think news can be done differently. If you agree, you can hit subscribe. It's the best way to help us grow. Now, back to the video.
The New South Wales government's track record on this subject makes it pretty hard to imagine, right? Concerns about pill testing have been consistently raised across the country, and that's including New South Wales, where the previous coalition government repeatedly rejected a formal recommendation to run a trial like this one. Now, the coalition's stance is rooted in the belief that pill testing could give drug users a misleading sense of safety when taking illicit drugs.
Okay, so they're concerned about the idea that if you're someone who goes to this pill testing, you give them their pill, they say, yes, this is what you thought it was, and then you take it, they're worried that you're then under this kind of misguided understanding that what you took is safe. But obviously, as we know, no drugs are safe. And so they're saying that it is misleading people into thinking that what they are taking is safe. I feel like I've said safe 10 times, but you get what I'm saying.
No, that's exactly right. And at the time, then Premier Dominic Perrottet, his message to young people was basically don't do drugs, because no matter what, there is always a risk.
Mm-hmm.
But with a change of government, with the new Labor government coming in New South Wales, we've witnessed quite a shift in the state's attitude towards the service. So the current New South Wales Premier, Chris Minns, said that the move is about saving lives and not encouraging drug use. So while the government has committed to providing this service, it does maintain that there will always be risk involved in drug use.
I think this is where it gets interesting, because obviously drugs are still illegal in New South Wales, and in every state and territory in Australia, drugs are illegal. But I can see why some people would say that isn't this a contradiction when drugs are illegal and you actually have police at the festival monitoring and trying to see if there are people there with drugs, and they have sniffer dogs, I presume.
Yeah.
But then in the same space, you also have a tent where people can go test their pills. So how do they kind of navigate that contradiction? Because I can see why for some people it would be considered mixed messaging.
No, that's exactly right. So when I showed up to the festival and I saw the pill testing tent set up right next to the police tent, it was a little striking, that juxtaposition.
But to be clear, if you are in the tent, police can't come and get you and say you're doing something illegal. They can't come and arrest you, right?
Exactly. The pill testing tent is a legal, safe space. But in the lead up to the festival, the organisers, the government, the police, all made sure to stress the fact that drugs do remain illegal in New South Wales and that the laws still apply to the rest of the venue.
So to be clear, there were sniffer dogs conducting drug searches and police conducting drug searches.
Absolutely. Police presence was pretty strong throughout the whole festival. On both days, there were officers patrolling and roaming the festival site. A mobile police unit had been set up right by the entrance, and like you said, those officers were using sniffer dogs to conduct drug searches as people lined up to get into the venue. In those drug searches that were conducted at the front of the venue, MDMA and cannabis were among some of the most popular drugs found by police. By the end of day 2, police charged 23 people with drug possession.
I think that's really interesting and something that, as there are more of these trials across Australia, that we'll have to see how that goes with the contradiction of, police arresting people for having drugs and then very close to that having a tent where you can consume drugs safely. I think it'll be really interesting to see what the future of pill testing looks like. No doubt you'll have to attend more festivals all in the name of work.
I guess, if I have to be there.
Achol, thank you so much for breaking that down for us and for spending your Sundays into investigating it for the Daily Aus.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Daily Aus. We'll be back again this afternoon with your evening headlines, but until then, have a great day.